And that's such a good question, and I have to agree with Angus that it involves change, and change is a part of the creative process. And I think that it's healthy for us as a culture. I think, as I said earlier, that these discussions are healthy, because I think within these discussions we begin to interact as a community and get the issues on the table. A big piece, I think, of what makes people angry is what I alluded to earlier, and that's that I think we're at a point in our development as a human species of having to confront our own consumption, and part of that are these views and these species that we talked about infringing upon in the woods and the mountaintops. We are already doing it for all sorts of consumptive reasons around this planet. And it's interesting to me how protected we get when it comes to our backyards. And I think that's healthy too.
Why not?
Because...
Why not?
Because you are willing to let that happen somewhere else? Whoever said that? Are you willing to let that happen where you don't see it?
They need to take the same perspective that I do.
Do nothing.
Not my backyard. Protect my state that I love.
So this is a part of the anger that we confront. This is not in my backyard anger. And I think that the issues we bring up about regulation and about protecting our environment and our municipalities and local control, I think that those are good issues, and that we fortunately live within a government where we can voice that and we can affect that.
And we don't have the opportunity to do that in this state because wind turbines have more rights than the citizens of the state of Maine do.
Well, I feel that we're doing
And
that
I
right
have
now.
been there and done that and fought that battle. And I know firsthand.
Why don't we let him finish, Kate?
So as I said, I think we're at a point in time when we have to... Oh, I would like to comment also on why there's not more going on, and what we hear about anyways, it's going on in other areas. I think there is a lot going on in photovoltaic, with solar panels, geothermal. I know I've worked on one project at a high school where they were using geothermal to heat the high school. As I said before, I have 2 or 3 constituents using photovoltaic panels and solar energy for their houses. I think that as we're experiencing here tonight, it's really interesting how we can go from local to global so quickly. It sort of reverberates back and forth. I mean, and that's how complicated these issues are. And I confront it all the time in Augusta. An issue can be very local, and it can quickly get involved in a matrix that is very complicated and involves all of Maine and all of the nation, and like we're talking here tonight, all of the planet. Anyways, I think we're running out of time, so thank you.
I think everybody's right here. We do need to change. We need to change our behavior. We need to conserve more. We shouldn't be encouraging the increased production of electricity for increased consumption because we want it. We should be conserving. That's change. If we went about conserving, we would be changing things. As far as the job issue, there are short-term jobs affiliated with industrial wind power development. No question about it. But after that initial leveling of the mountains and construction phase, there's very few jobs, as a matter of fact. Very, very few jobs. In Spain, they've actually done a study that showed that for every 1 job they created in the wind industry, and Spain's big in wind, they lost 2.2 jobs. Okay, so it's not this big job creator. As far as the Western Mountains being a national park, you're damn right they ought to be a national park. They're unbelievably beautiful and we need to protect them that way. And the fact of the matter is, if we made them a national park, they'd become a huge carbon sequestration sink. And that carbon would come out of the air. And wind, believe it or not, I don't care what anybody tells you, this industrial wind is not going to reduce carbon emissions. The fact is that there are some studies that actually show it will increase carbon emissions because they have to have spinning reserve, backup power. They have to build new conventional power plants in order to support the intermittency of the wind. When the wind's not blowing, you still have a demand, you got to provide it. And so in California, for instance, they're considering that they're going to have to build 40 new power plants, maybe coal, maybe nuclear, what have you, in order to back up the wind that they want to achieve at that level. So spending this ridiculous amount of our tax dollars subsidizing something that's not doing anything for our environment, that's actually destroying our mountaintops, when we could put that same amount of money into conservation, efficiency, and weatherization, it's just a scam. And the reason it's a hot button issue is because the fact is that there are people here who are going to make big money. They're going to walk away from this with big money in their pockets. And what are they going to leave behind for us? They're going to leave behind despoiled mountains. They're going to leave behind exactly what the people in the 19th century did with the dams, despoiled rivers. And if we don't stand up and stop this, in 15 years, we're going to have our mountains covered with these megalithic, monstrous machines that aren't doing anything for us economically and aren't doing anything but being a negative impact on our environment. As far as Vinyl Haven is concerned, my friend, I've talked to a lot of people in Vinyl Haven. There have been people that have been run out of their homes out in Vinyl Haven because of the noise. There's a serious noise problem. I've talked to them.
Okay.
You should go out and talk to your neighbors.
Let me ask you this. Can I see a show of hands? Anybody learn anything new tonight? Raise your hand. All right. Well, that's why we did this. And we're very glad that you all came and made it a special event. Please give yourselves a hand. We also thank these speakers, each for their information and their passion. Please give them a hand as well. I'd like to say something. To me, as the chant goes, this is what democracy looks like. So I'm very proud of this event tonight, and I'm proud of all of us for being a part of it. I want to say something about poor people. As we start talking about economic decline in America, and we start talking about declining fossil fuels, it's poor people that are going to suffer first. Poor people that are not going to be able to weatherize their homes. They're not going to be able to afford to utilize the state tax incentives to put solar devices on their homes, etc., etc. And so as we're all grappling with energy, we also have to think about how are poor people going to deal with the coming realities that they're going to be facing as this whole economic decline comes to America, as well as this energy crisis. So as we're thinking about and talking about all these issues, let us also be thinking about those that are going to be really, really hurting the hardest. It might be us next. Thank you all very much for coming tonight.